Hi there makers, it is Jo here from Minerva, and today I'm here with a sew-along and I'm going to be making one of the Now and Then patterns, a vintage inspired pattern selection from Minerva. And today I'm going to be looking at a 1960s dress. It can have a slightly 1970s vibe depending on which sleeve you choose, but I've got some superb fabrics to share with you today. I really like the Now and Then patterns. They are truly cut and designed for vintage sewers, and they have a few little tweaks in there which hark back to vintage sewing techniques as well. Today we're cutting on the bias, so there's a few things to note there. I'm wearing actually a butterick vintage pattern, and I mean vintage. Look at the state of this pattern that I picked up. This is a tie front top, and it's got really similar features to the Oleander dress, which is what I'm going to make today. And I'm also wearing the Now and Then Bell palazzo pants on the bottom. These are in a meat milk tencel lyocell, and you can see that there's just some fabulous drape there in the wide leg trousers. There's a V waistband at the front, which makes them really neat, and you've of course got the elastic comfort at the back. Just makes a really lovely vintage inspired outfit. Okay, let's talk about the dress. So it's called the Oleander Dress, and it comes in sizes 8 to 24. Size 8 is a bust 33, going up to a bust 49 inches at 24. And the waist is 26 inches at a size 8, running through to a waist 42 at size 24. And the hips is a 36-inch hip at a size 8 and a 52-inch hip at a size 24. You can get all of these pattern details on our website if you look up the Oleander Dress. I really wanted to choose a bright, vibrant 1960s print for today's dress, so I've chosen Positively Poppies. Positively Poppies is a large print, and because there are no stems or stalks, then this fabric is suitable for cutting on the bias, because if you tilt your pattern pieces, the flowers work in all directions. You won't just have all stems going in different directions like this. I'll give you some tips on cutting on the bias in a moment. I've chosen a heavy crepe, and this is because I want the main part of the body and dress not to be see-through or not require any lining. So this has got a lovely flow and movement for bias cutting, but also it's opaque, so it doesn't require lining. Another element I want to share with you today is the unique opportunity to have the same print but in different cloths, so that you can get different features to your dresses. So this is a single georgette. It's made from 100% recycled polyester. It's got sheer qualities, so it's like a chiffon. It's only 68 GSM, so it's really, really light. I'm going to use this for the sleeves. On view B, the sleeves have a little tie halfway down, so you'll get lots of softness and gathering, and I think this would be beautiful. And when it's paired with the crepe as the main body, you're going to get that really positive poppies pop of colour from this colour way, and a sheerness to the sleeve. So we'll be working with a couple of different fabrics today. Positively Poppies comes in 7 different colourways, so there's lots and lots of choice. The pattern today is cut on the bias, so that you don't need to have any zips or fastenings. You can put the dress on over your head, and of course it's got this similar tie feature to my butterick version where you can adjust the bust fit. It's a really lovely way of fitting a dress because you can change the neckline, you can change the bust fit, you can change the arm size just simply with the tie at the front. Okay, let's start. It's time to cut out this fabric, and you'll need a little bit of space because you're going to be cutting in a single layer, and you're going to be rotating your pattern pieces 45 degrees to work with the bias, stretch and movement of your fabric. So you'll be cutting your fabric in a single layer, and ordinarily if you're making a shift dress, you'd have the grain line here running along the selvage, running with the straight grain of the dress. But this is our grain line today. So we need to turn the pattern piece 45 degrees and measure from the edge to our bias cut grain line. You're going to pin this in place. I've obviously just got mine off the edge of the paper at the moment, but I just want to show you that you'll be working with the bias stretch of the fabric. Not all pieces are cut on the bias. This is the yoke piece, so this is cut on the straight grain, and this will stabilise the neck area. You need to mark all of the notches, and it's really important with a bias cut because you don't want to take the paper off and put it back on again. So make sure you've got all of the markings on the front and the back, including the buttonhole, and keeping that bias cut grain line. I find it easier to cut on the bias with a rotary cutter because I'm not shifting and moving the fabric out of position so much. So that might be a good idea if you can use a rotary cutter. If you want to shorten it, you need to use the lengthen and shorten line rather than cut a length off the bottom. So today I'm making the pattern the full length, and you can see it on me, and I'm 5'3". Because I've used the crepe for today's fabric choice, I haven't needed to add a little extra triangle. So when you read the pattern instructions, you'll see the fabric pieces are laid out, but it's assuming that you're using a narrow piece of fabric like you would have done in the 1960s, in which case you won't be able to fit on that final little corner of your dress, so you'll need to cut that out. And that's the first stage of the pattern, is to sew your corner on if you needed to cut it like that. If your fabric's wide enough, like mine has been today, then you can just cut out your dress pieces without having to add a little triangle in the corner. First up, we're going to be adding a buttonhole to the front of our dress so that our ties can come through to the front. And because I'm making view B, I'm also going to be doing that on the chiffon that comes through for the ties on the sleeve. You can either use a piece of self fabric behind the buttonhole to stabilise it, or I've just put a little piece of interfacing. It means that I've got a clean buttonhole for my ties. Next, we're going to make the darts, and I've put a tacking thread alongside the dot markings, and that's going to help me because the fabric will want to shift and twist around because it's cut on the bias. So that tack line through the centre of the dart is helping me to keep the dart line in the correct place. Sew from one end to the other end without back tacking. Make sure when you're sewing that you're going through those dart dot points. They will give you a narrower shape at the waist, but you can tack and try on for fit. If you're getting a twisted dart like this, that means the fabric has twisted while you've been making the darts. You need to unpick that one and do it again. That's why the tacking line running along the centre has helped to keep the dart flat, and you need to do that on the front and the back. Press your darts. The front ones press out to the side seams and the back ones press to the centre. It's time to make the ties that you use for both the sleeves and through the neck. If you want some help to make really narrow Rolu ties, and they can be a little bit tricky, you can follow my Learn to Sew video here where I give you a few different techniques for turning through really narrow straps and ties. I'm going to go ahead and make mine, and then they'll be ready to put into the dress at a later stage. I'm using this light georgette fabric, so I haven't cut mine on the bias because it's really soft and pliable and a movable weave of fabric, but you'll need to cut your ties and bias binding pieces on the bias. Step 4 is to add the binding around the neck. That's going to create the casing for the ties. I'm using a ready-made bias binding just because it's easier for you to see the differences and the two different fabrics that I'm putting together. Sometimes in a sew-along, if I use the same fabric, it's hard for you to see which bit is which. The bias binding goes around the neckline, and you want to add a little bit of tension to your bias, but not to your tops. You don't want to stretch the neck out. You want to just pin it in place all the way around the neckline. If you're using ready-made bias binding, you'll be sewing in the groove of the binding, and if you've made your own, there is a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance if you cut your binding pieces as the pattern. Press your binding away from the neck and understitch. The seam allowances should be going towards the binding. You can layer out the fabric underneath. This will mean your gather will pull up nicely and you'll have a little bit more room for the tie inside. Take out this and put in a tie. Your ties will go in separately, so go through the buttonhole and out to the shoulder seam. Your casing shouldn't be closed at the end of your shoulder. It pops out and you can pin this in place to stop it scooting back through. You need to do this on both sides and sew across the end. Next, you're going to turn that neck binding to the inside and pin in place. It's a good idea here to pin with your pins vertically so that you can go gently around the curves. You don't want to have any puckers because this is going to be your front finish. Once you've sewn that binding down, you will have created a channel for the ties to slide along, and they will be joined at the shoulder seams. The gorgeous softness of the chiffon ties works really nicely with the crepe fabric. You don't need this gathered up for when you attach the shoulders. Once your shoulder seams are all attached, then it's time to add the yoke. Before you add the back yoke, stay stitch the back neckline because of course we're cut on the bias, so we don't want it to stretch. Once your shoulder seams are attached, you should have a little bit of fabric sticking out on the inside of the neck, and that means that you can attach your back yoke and match up the stitching right up to the edge of the shoulders. Clip the back neck curve so that your facing rolls to the wrong side really easily, or you can lay it out this seam. You can also join the facing along the shoulder as well, but I'm doing mine separately because I want to understitch as far as I can because I've got quite a bouncy crepe fabric. And then I will hand stitch the raw edge of the back yoke facing down over the seam allowance. I prefer a little hand stitch there, especially because I have quite a bouncy triple crepe fabric. You'll be finishing your sleeves with different features depending on which pattern you've chosen. So if you've got view C, that's short sleeved. If you've got view D, that's got a sort of wide, more 70s style bell sleeve at the bottom. I'm doing view B with the gathered sleeve, or you can make this dress sleeveless in view A. So at this point, you'll be working on your sleeves. I've made a few adaptations for working with this chiffon fabric, so I need to put this bias strip onto the sleeve, but because it's quite a movable fabric anyway, I've got the buttonhole already in place, and I've got my markings here for the distance and position of the casing, but I haven't cut my casing on the bias because it was just too stretchy and too uncontrollable. So here I've made a tube and turned it through, and it's created a nice piece of fabric to put on the inside of my sleeve. It's not bulky and it keeps everything quite ethereal and light. You can, of course, if you've got a thicker fabric, use ready-made bias binding like you did around the neck, or you can make bias like it says in the pattern from your self fabric. This has just worked really nicely for the sheer quality of georgette fabric. So this is the casing on the inside. It's light and pliable to match the outer fabric. And I've got my buttonhole ready to put through my ties. I've also decided at this point to do a baby rolled hem on my sleeves because I can do it more easily when it's flat than when it's in the round. I made this by turning the fabric wrong sides together and sewing really close to the folded edge, and then clipping off any spare fabric, turning it again, and it makes a really light floaty sleeve for a georgette fabric. Another adaptation for a lighter fabric is, rather than just having an easing stitch in the sleeve head, I'm going to pull mine up a little bit more and have little gathers at the sleeve head. This fabric is very pliable and fluid, so it's difficult to get this as a flush set-in sleeve, but whatever fabric you're using, you need to match the notches. So there is the back notch, the sleeve head notch I've already put in, and then match up the underarms. Leave the rest of it and you can ease that in afterwards. Now I've got those key points in place, I can start to put together the rest of the sleeve, and you'll see where I've gathered it in a moment. So there's a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, but then as I get towards the sleeve head, I've pushed all my gathers up into one place, and with the stiletto I'm just going to make those really nice and even so it looks intentional, but it would be difficult for me to set in that movable chiffon georgette in a sleeve head. With a different fabric, you can use that as a pure easing sleeve head stitch and work your fabric around the curve of the top of the shoulder point. Once both sleeves are in around this upper part, we're then going to match up the sleeve side seams along with the side seam of the dress, and taking into account the rolled hem and the channel for the casing. And I've also made sure that the hem is level at the bottom of my dress, so be really careful not to stretch this out. You need to match the notches so that you get the correct length. So this is the dress so far. We've got all of the neck detail. I'm doing this view, so I've got all of the sleeve detail, and then we can work on the hem. If you're doing the sleeveless version, that's simply a bound armhole edge. We're at the hem, and I really recommend that you sew a hand stitched hem here. If you've got a bias cut and you top stitch it on the machine, you can sometimes sort of flare it out. So it's nice to just go for a little vintage touch here and hand sew your hem. I've overlocked the edge and I'm just doing a whip stitch over the edge and then just taking a tiny bit of the fabric so you hardly see the pick stitches from the right side. Give everything a press and then your dress is finished. So this is how it works. You can see you can adjust this neckline as much as you want depending on your shoulder fit or bust fit. You can pull it up as much as you like. It's really good in that respect because it gives it a really well-fitting neckline around here and you don't get any gaping when you bend forwards. This is the chiffon as the ties, matching the ones on the sleeves, and I've got that lovely rolled hem edge for a floaty finish. It's a really nice way to use two different exclusive fabrics in one garment. You can adjust the back darts for your own fit. And here's the length for you. I'm 5'3" and I haven't changed the length. I think it would look really good as a kind of mini, but you would need to change the length on the lengthen and shorten line. The fabric is called Positively Poppies. I hope you have enjoyed today's video, especially seeing those two fabrics working alongside each other. It might give you another idea for a different pattern where you know that that would work really well. I've always had in my mind that it would work well for the Gemma dress from the Minerva exclusive patterns where you have a chiffon balloon sleeve. I think that would look absolutely fabulous. We would love to see anything that you've been making, so do head over to Minerva and share your makes there. It doesn't have to be a current pattern, it could be a vintage pattern that you've used or something vintage inspired. It really is a great place to share all kinds of sewing projects. We love to see what fabrics you've chosen with which patterns, and it'd be particularly interesting to see what you choose for any of our now and then patterns. You can join the craft club over there where you will receive discounts and offers throughout the year. It really is a great way to be part of our sewing community. Thank you very much for watching and we'll see you again soon.